Yeah, I'm just gonna get
Is my
into it
sound all
then.
right?
Yeah, perfect,
Yeah,
perfect.
Okay, sounds
And
good.
our heads are equally big, I think, which is good for the video. Let me just double check 39. All right, welcome to podcast number 39. And we have like kind of a two-parter with Code Foils today with Josh Koo. He's a surfer, foiler out of Sydney. And next week's going to be with Ben and Marcus Todrew from Code Foil. So thank you very much, Josh, for taking your time. And I've seen some of your videos. Crazy surfer. I want to get into like how to carve a little better. We met at Zug and Bern where he came with Code Foils. I think you guys met in Mataro at the downwind race, and I want to touch on these events as well. Thank you very much, Josh. Is there anything you want to add right away, like in terms of so that people can get to know you?
I think, first of all, I'd just like to say thank you for wanting to get me on the show. And also, while I was away in Europe, thanks for the hospitality and just the kindness of you guys. It was awesome meeting you all, and I loved foiling with you guys and learning so much from you guys, especially when I was with you in Switzerland, Matt. Like the pump foiling thing, like I didn't even know how to pump foil, and you guys were teaching me from scratch. So it was yeah, it was very nice and kind of you guys, and it's nice to be here chatting to you today.
It was so cool because at first we saw that, yeah, you had some issues starting, but as soon as you were on foil, we saw, all right, they are so good, all three of them. So it was really cool to see. Because usually when we dock start, when we manage to start, then the hard part starts for us. So like we have maybe 20 or 30 tries we start, and then really we need to start learning. So it's really hard to get into that pumping movement.
Yeah, it's I couldn't even imagine learning to foil that way. Like, first of all, you're trying to learn how to throw the thing and land on it, and then once you master that, then the hard part starts of learning how to pump. And like, I feel fortunate enough where I come from a surf foiling background where once I land the landing, I know how to pump away and foil. But like, I think trying to learn that all at once when you don't come from any background of foiling, that would be extremely hard.
We saw you trying different starts, and maybe for our listeners who maybe are new to dock starting as well, what would you recommend? What is the best way to start?
Well, that was actually a really good question that I asked Tim from Zug. I was like, if you were to start from the beginning, one way how to dock start, what would it be? Because, I don't want to learn bad habits. I want to learn the right way, the first way. And he actually showed me this way that I've never even seen before, where you kind of start switch foot, but then you swing your body around, and that momentum kind of throws you with forward pitching moment and kind of makes the board like kind of have speed and momentum and fly away. And that for me really connected because I've always done that start where you're on the dock and you run with the board. And I just thought that makes the most sense. But when he showed me how to do that, it's pretty much a standing start. And you throw the board in and you spin your body from switch to your normal stance. And that made the most sense for me because you don't always have an amazing dock where you can do a long run up. You sometimes only have a platform or a rock, and for me that made the most sense, and it just clicked. It seemed really wrong and foreign when he first told me to do it because I was like, I have to start switch and then throw my body around. And the first time I did it, I think in my head, it kind of threw me off more than the actual motion because once I actually threw the board and threw my body around, it felt natural. But yeah, just it was very odd, and I think it's something that's really cool with pump foiling is that you just have repetitions and you can keep trying again, trying again. It's like going to the skate park and skateboarders, they just keep trying the same move on the same ramp. They'll eventually get it because like if you've got the right technique, it will eventually stick.
Yeah. How many trials did it take?
It took me, honestly, when I got taught that way from Tim, it took me, I think, on the second go, I got it. But like all day, I was trying that, like, kind of like little bit of a run up start. And every
Yeah,
time I just like either put the nose down too far or put the tail up too high. It was just, and I think also understanding the physics of a foil, like how you need to really run and keep the foil level with the water. That's
yeah,
like such a crucial moment. Um, but yeah, once I kind of processed all these things, and you obviously have to give it a lot of goes as well. But once you do it, it just turns into muscle memory.
Definitely.
yeah.
And for all the listeners, Guile is going to edit this video, so he probably put some footage of himself doing that reverse start, like from Yvon Labarthe, I think I saw it the first time, over, so you can go look at it, how he does it, and he has some super nice tutorials about it, which is really nice. But it really depends on the dock, right? If you have like a lower dock, it's harder to do that. So it's better to have a running start, I presume.
Yeah, totally. But the thing is, we don't really have, well, where I am on the beach, we don't really have docks at all. We just have rocks. And I haven't, since I've been back from Europe, I haven't actually gone dock starting or rock jumping. Like I've I've gone back to my habits of just surf foiling and catching waves. But I do want to keep up that skill because I feel like if I don't continue it, you'll probably lose it. And I think I need to actually, that's why I filmed a lot of the ones that I got, because I want to use that as like my tutorial to do it again.
Very nice. Honestly, if I could, I would surf the waves as well, but it's just not possible there. So you kind of have to do it.
Are you having good conditions in the last period?
We've had amazing surf lately. It's actually, I think today's really good too. I actually got back on the surfboard again. So I was surfing on the weekend and there was some barrels to be had. So we've had non-stop waves, and we've also had a little bit of wind too. So I've been downwinding as well, which has been fun. I get in the water every day, so whether it's downwinding, foiling, or surfing, I'll get out there. So it's good.
Let's talk about that. Maybe you can tell us how you got into water sports in the first place. We've seen some amazing footage of you surfing, not on foil, but surfing huge waves. How did that happen? Were you surfing since you were a little kid?
Yeah, so I wasn't like those child prodigies that you see these days that they're
Yeah.
surfing when they're like just learning to walk. I got into surfing when I was more in my teenage years, like 14, 16. I just got into it because the friends that I was hanging out with at the time were all into it. I was a skateboarder first. I love skateboarding. So I was always into board sports. And then when surfing came along, yeah, my friends just started doing that, so I just naturally gravitated towards what they were doing. And then I think being a teenager, we were always trying to push our limits, kind of like who will go the biggest wave or who will surf this crazy wave that no one else has surfed yet. And I think that culture really resonated with us here in Sydney. And because we're very lucky here on the east coast of Australia, we get bombarded by swell all year round. And I've only
Nice.
really noticed how lucky we were ever since I started traveling the world a bit more, because you'll go to places like Hawaii where they only for their winter they get waves, and the rest of the season they don't really get waves. We're really lucky all year round. We've got waves, so there's always something to do on the water. But surfing for me was just something that I really resonated with because I think it's a really healthy hobby and lifestyle that you can live with it. It also opens up the door to a lot of travel. So all through my 20s, and I would travel around the world to, locations where the waves are amazing, like Fiji or Bali or Indonesia, and just chasing really good waves and hanging out with people that are like-minded. So for me, surfing has always been something that I love, and I still love, even though I pretty much don't surf anymore. I might only surf 5 or 6 times a year now, but I'm in the water every day foiling now. So for me, foiling has taken over because it's taken over for me because the the one thing I loved about surfing was finding your own waves and not being too crowded in a surf spot. But now I can do that every day with foiling. And even in like some of the busiest beaches in Australia, I can still find my own area to get waves when other people are fighting over,
Yeah.
this one section. So I'm gravitating towards that because, and then also now the downwind, I can be miles out to sea and having my own fun, and no one else out there to steal my wave or anything like that. So it's just opened up the door to this whole other energy that I didn't once know was there. And I think it's really cool that the foil can harness that. And then on top of that, you've got all different disciplines within foiling. Like, I just recently visited both of you guys in Europe, like Switzerland. You would never go there for a surf trip, but now I've gone there for a foil trip, and like I've got to travel another part of the world and meet really cool people and see what they do. And I think foiling is really cool for that. I really like that.
That is so nice. So it was a hobby, then you used it, or you traveled, and now you kind of work in that area too. And you work with code, something with foil drive as well. Where are you? You're in many different parts of foiling. Maybe you can help us out. Where exactly is that? Except for foil drive and code
Yes.
that we're going to talk about.
So as a surfer, I was always trying to become a professional where I could make a living out of just surfing and especially surfing big waves. Um, that didn't really eventuate for me. I was lucky enough where I had some sponsors, but I was never actually making money where I could leave my day job. And when foiling came along and I got into that, I was very fortunate where a few different sponsors helped me out. And then now, with exactly who you said, Code and Foil Drive, they both offered me a position where I worked in their marketing departments. So I worked for them 50-50, and I split my days between helping them with their marketing stuff and also being an ambassador for their brands. So I'm very fortunate where now my passion, which is foiling, is become my job. So like what you've seen, I was recently over in Europe. Where over there displaying, both our brands, the Foil Drive and Code. We're doing a lot of demonstrations. We're kind of just getting this product in front of people that maybe have heard about us, but they haven't maybe seen it or tried it yet. So we're just trying to expand our brands pretty much and see other communities on the other side of the world and how they use the product.
What was your day job before that?
So before that, I worked in construction. So I had my own little construction business where we fixed roofs. So I'd fix a lot of leaky roofs. I'd install new roofs. Anything to do with, yeah, a roof, I would be fixing it. And
So
yeah,
making things
I
waterproof
exactly, yes. So
can be
I
important with the boards as well, huh?
yeah, yeah, it's actually, yeah, funny you say that because I'm a horrible board fixer. I don't know how, yeah, I don't know how that works, but I'm horrible at fixing boards. I recently just fixed a board because when I came home, I think the airline damaged my board and I was out there and yeah, it's not the prettiest thing fixed, but it's watertight. It does the job. But yeah,
And how did you juggle your day job, your business, and foiling when you didn't live off of foiling?
how was it juggling it?
Yeah.
Um, to be honest, it wasn't that hard. It was my own business, so I could choose to work when I wanted to work. And I think it got to the point where I was foiling more than I was working. And I think I reflected on that and brands seen that I was invested in the foiling industry. And I was just very lucky where Code and Foil Drive gave me the opportunity to work for them. So technically, yeah, like right now, this is work. I'm working.
Does it feel like work? Like sometimes do you have you film obviously a lot, you cut videos, you edit videos, but does it sometimes feel like, all right, I have to go foiling now because it's my job, or is it still a pleasure?
No, like that, honestly, that side of things never feels like I'm working. Like when I'm in the water and or traveling and doing demos like that, it doesn't really feel like work. I feel very fortunate. It's when I'm usually at home and my day to day is being in front of the computer and it might be like, responding to people's issues on the email, or, dealing with team riders' contracts, or dealing with different shops throughout the world that sell our stuff. That day-to-day stuff definitely feels like work for sure, because I'm in front of a computer, I'm not out in the water foiling. So, but I know with my job, you can't always 24/7 be out foiling. Like that doesn't really sell foils. Like I need to help the businesses in the marketing departments that I'm in, because we work as teams, and being on work calls and stuff, like it's work. And
So
but the thing is, it's work is us talking about foils and how to make a better foil, or how to make a better, foil drive for someone. Like it's like it definitely meshes. And sometimes that's dangerous, because sometimes I don't turn off when I work.
yeah.
I could be working 24/7 because I'm constantly checking what the new trends are on foiling, and like sometimes you need to step back from that. So, but
How do you do that?
I'm
Because
finding my balance.
yeah, I was just saying, because going through Instagram, that's also kind of work for you, I suppose. So how do you turn off? Do you just like, well, obviously when you're on the water, you don't have your cell phone with you, or do you put your phone away on purpose sometimes?
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I'll sometimes be on my phone, and it's for personal use, like it's me clocked off work hours, but I seem to be still responding to people that potentially I might need to talk to tomorrow in business hours. And I will very much just be like, can you please email me? Because right now I don't want to be on my phone on WhatsApp telling someone, oh, yeah, we need to order this or do that. It's like, I'll just be like, email me. And then in the morning, I'll check my emails and I'll get to you then. So it is kind of like, yeah, it's very tricky, but I think it's the role that I'm in. And I think it's the lifestyle that we live these days. It's like we do need to be regiment where we do put our phone away, and when we're like at dinner with our family, we're we're focused on them, we're not worrying about what's happening in our work. So
Makes
it's
makes
something
a
that
lot
I'm
of
still
sense.
trying to very much have a healthy balance of, but I think it's ever changing. Like it's our lifestyle. There's always like some new smartwatch that can tell you notifications nonstop, or your phone that can now go in the surf with you. Versus before, like, we couldn't take our phone into the water. So it was time where we didn't have to worry about the rest of the world. But now it's like you could realistically bring your phone in the water with you while you surf. I don't do that. I bring my phone in the water with me when I downwind, just in case I do get in trouble and I need to call someone. But it's like, it's funny you say that, because I've actually done a FaceTime call while I've been downwinding to the code guys. And I'll be like, oh yeah, this foil goes pretty good. Yeah, it's got pretty good low end. And like, yeah, it's
What what is that podcast right now? I see you've written Foil Drive as your name tag. Are you stamped in with Foil Drive at the moment, or
so
how is it
I
for you
I
today
I
now?
actually So I actually do podcasts for Foil Drive. So this is just my podcast account through Foil Drive.
But like the time that we're spending now, is that kind of, is it work? Is your personal brand? How do you
This is
organize that?
work. This is definitely work.
But you don't have
This
to
is
like count
definitely work.
hours for the different brands.
No, I work 4 hours each day for both brands, which makes up an 8 hour day for me. And whether that's working from 6 a.m. till 2 p.m., or start at midday and finish at 8 p.m., it's like it's just if I get my job's done, it's whenever I can do it.
All right. And what we see is just you on the videos and the audios, but how can you maybe tell us how is it, how much of your job is like traveling and foiling, and how much is email? Can you like give us some percentage maybe? I mean, the
Oh,
trip you did, that was probably not what usually happens.
no, I'm not usually away working 24/7 like that, because that job was pretty intense. We just thought while we were in Europe, so while I seen Gail in Spain for the downwind race, we just thought while we're over that side of the earth, why don't we visit some of our dealers in other neighboring European countries. So we were very much, and then while I started planning out the itinerary of the trip, I was just like, I asked the guys that I was traveling with, I was like, how intense do you want to make this trip? And they're like, let's just get it done. Let's every day, let's just see someone. So I was like, all right, sweet. So we, we had demos here, we had social nights, we made like, every third day we're in a new country. So that was pretty intense, and it's not normally like that. But I would say each month I'm away somewhere internationally, and then and that might only be for a week. I try, like all of us that work for Code specifically, we all have families, and we don't want to be away from our families for more than 2 weeks at a time. Like 1 week's perfect. So, and we kind of divvy up between all the events throughout the year. Okay, we'll go to this event, and then you go to the next event, and then we try and split it up between us all. And yeah, so I'm usually away for once a month. Like, to be honest, I'm probably the most free out of all the guys there because I don't have kids yet. I've got a wife, so I don't want to be away from home all the time. But the yeah, I'm away kind of probably for a week most months. But then, like in July, I'm probably going to be in Hawaii for the whole month of July because there's a lot of races on, and next month I've got a film project on, and I might be in Indonesia, and there's always something going on. And whether it's not like international, because Code and Foil Drive are both Australian brands, I might visit them because they're in a different state, which is they're about a flight away. It's not a far flight; it's maybe only an hour flight, but I'm always bouncing around, which is it's cool. It's very cool.
It's exhausting as
Yeah.
well, though.
It's very exhausting too. But I'm very lucky where my home in Sydney is only about 15 minutes away from the airport. So there's always someone who can drop me at the airport, or if I need to get an Uber from the airport, it's only 15 minutes. And yeah.
Let's talk about that trip. First, you went to Barcelona. How is that for you? I saw your video. How was the race? How was the atmosphere? Maybe you can both chime in and tell us how it was.
You want to go first, Gal?
Yeah, well, for me, it was just incredible, first of all, meeting you guys from Australia and seeing so many great foilers. I learned a lot. And yeah, I guess for you, it was kind of cool seeing people, like you said, being in Europe, in a place where you could probably surf normal, like prawn surf once a month, then you can pretty much foil every single day. So yeah, I guess that's like you said, it opened up so many opportunities, and it's great to see such a great community. Uh, and the other thing is like people from every age, and also the community is, I feel like, it's different compared to the surfing one, because again, in the surf they kind of all hate each other. They don't want to, they want to steal their waves. There's always this competition type of feeling. While it's in foiling, if there is competition, it's like healthy competition because you just want to push each other. So it was great. It was a fantastic learning experience for me. But yeah, I want to know about you, what you felt during the trip, and with the conditions as well. Like, I know that you're not really used to these type of conditions.
Yeah, so I was actually very lucky where a few years ago I went to Barcelona with my sister, but I didn't, and this was just when I surfed, so I didn't bring a surfboard. And Barcelona is not known for its surf, so it was really cool to be able to go there with a foil this time. And you experienced it. Like, we didn't get amazing downwind conditions. We got conditions that we could downwind in, which were quite light conditions. And for me, that didn't really matter because I enjoyed just downwinding with the group of us. In that scenario, yeah, it's not 10 out of 10 conditions. However, I thought it was really cool, the community that event brought together. Like, there
Yeah,
was roughly 50 people that came to this event. Do you think, or was it
yeah,
more?
yeah. Probably
Um, it
50,
was
60 people
Yeah,
from
so it
all
was
over
really
Europe.
nice that Chubby from Wind Paradise could create an event like this that brought people internationally to the spot. And I think he was a little bit upset that the wind didn't come through, like, because I think it can get really, really good there. It still got we downwinded every day, which was still really nice. And we even got a couple little prone sessions in, which I thought were epic. Like I didn't think we would be prone foiling in Barcelona. Like I thought it was just known for its downwind. So, and I think being in such a famous city like Barcelona that's steep in history and culture, it was really nice that we were able to, outside of the event, go to some really nice like dinners, and then we held like a social night where we played like a foiling film in like a beautiful little cafe. So it was nice. It was a good competition, great social event. Really nice to meet people like yourself and other people from the foil drive community. And yeah, I think it was good.
I saw the video and it seemed like you had the perfect foil for these conditions.
Yeah, so when I downwind, I always downwind pretty much on the code R foils. And because the wind was so light, I rode a 10.75, which you would never think you would ride in a race. But because the conditions were light, it was actually a pretty good foil to ride. I probably, in hindsight, I would have liked to have ridden the size smaller, the 960R. However, you know, I've been in races before where I've sized down and wish I rode the bigger foil, but in this race it was the other way around. But I was still really happy. I think I got 7th place, which I'm very happy about because it was a very stacked lineup with some very, very good foilers in it. And
Exactly.
How is
Yeah.
the competition between you and the other code riders? Are you always looking where they are?
Yeah, I think like if you've gone in enough of these races, you kind of know where you sit, and whether you're not battling it out with like first, second, third, even if you're like more me, where I'm in like the pack just under the very top guys, I always kind of know who I'm competing with, and it was kind of nice to go up against these guys, like other team riders like John Mann and Albert from Barcelona. These guys are also sponsored by Code, so it was nice to have a few little battles in the race with them. And
But when you
yeah,
continue your trip with Marcus, maybe does he say like, yeah, you could have gone a little faster, or is it just he
no,
used to race a lot of stuff?
Marcus and Ben are actually really good
Yeah.
racing partners too, because I've beaten them both in races before, and
Ah,
they've
okay.
definitely beaten me in races before. So we are very much in the same realm too. But I think they got me because they were on some special prototype gear that I wasn't on. So I think they had an advantage, and they'll probably tell you differently. And they had an advantage, I think, for sure. But in saying that, Marcus and Ben are nearly 10 years older than me. So I think I have an advantage of them in youthfulness, but they also have an advantage with me because they have some really good experience.
They have sub racing backgrounds.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. Those guys have spent a lot of the time in downwind conditions competing. So they're very knowledgeable.
Yeah. And there is one thing that hit me about your Barcelona vlog when you interviewed Clément, the French guy who got to the top. And he said like he pretty much pumped his way until the end with a 600 square centimeter foil. And what do you think about that? Because to me, it made sense to not rest when the bump isn't really good. But on the other hand, like, wow,
Well, he's an
you gotta be
athlete.
an athlete, yeah.
If you just look at his physique, he looks like a
Insane.
professional athlete. And
5% body
I
fat or
think
something.
you could probably hear in my voice when I'm talking to him, because I just had the GoPro down on my hip, because I try
Yeah.
not to get the camera in someone's face, because I feel like sometimes they don't give me the true representation of what they feel like. But yeah, I think he was just telling me like, yeah, I pump, because if you don't pump, you're not going to win. And I'm just like,
Why would you
but
stop pumping?
yeah, why would you stop pumping? And I'm like, to have a break, like to rest. And he was just like, no, rest, you will lose. And I'm just like, Okay. All right. Well, I definitely need to rest because I can't pump for an hour straight without having a break. So it was interesting. But, I think that also does say a lot because with racing, it is very dependent on what I referred to before with Marcus and Ben on prototype gear. There is a race within products and gear and advancements in gear for sure. But then also you have some athletes that are just so trained, so fit, and they could probably make a shit foil go fast because they
Yeah.
just have the biggest engine in their bodies. And then you've got people that have the knowledge and they might not have to exert 110% of their effort, but they just make good choices. And I think that is the Tadru brothers. They don't train. I know they don't train, but they're so skilled and knowledgeable in the downwind bumps that they can just choose the right lines. And if you downwind with them, you'll be like pumping nonstop. And you look at them and they're just standing there, just gliding, just moving between the right
Nice.
spots. So I kind of fall more towards that side where I don't really train as much, but I'm in the water every day and I try to use my experience and knowledge to be the most efficient foiler I can. I don't go to the gym or whatever like that. Like whenever I've got a spare moment, I just get in the water and foil. And I feel like for me, that's the best training I can do.
It sounds more fun than going to the gym and stuff like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
But then you went to the UK and you did a lot of surfing there. Did I saw just some clips? Did you meet Freddie and Liam from the podcast and Rich from the Foiling Magazine? I think I saw their faces.
Yeah, so I've just released a video today of that trip,
Yeah, I
which
saw that.
I'm very stoked on. I feel like it gives a really cool representation of the community there of foilers, which mainly was like, I think that's a big surf scene. So what I found out after visiting Newquay in Cornwall, UK, is that it's a place steep in surfing history. Like for the UK, that's like the spot that all the UK surfers come from or they go to compete. So it's very much a surf background, and the foilers there, they love prone foiling. There's definitely some wing foilers there and some guys who are getting into downwind now, but it's freaking freezing. It's so cold. Those guys are hardcore. Like they're very hardcore. Like they'll battle it out in 6 mil wetsuits, hoods, gloves. Probably nothing for you guys, but like for me, that's hardcore. And we were pretty lucky when we were there. The waves were only small, so we were still able to get out every day. Nothing amazing, but like we still had some really good time, like surf foiling, and yeah, we met up with Liam and Freddie. They came down, and then also the crew from Poseidon and distributor there, Dom. We had a really good crew, and then some foil drivers came. It was it was nice to see the community, and meet them all.
And how you spread your time between downwinding and front foiling?
I still love prone foiling. Prone foiling for me is like number one. But when I like to prone foil, it's like knee high to head high. That's my favorite prone foil conditions with like light wind. Um, but if it's really windy and it's no good for prone foiling and the wind's going in the right direction to downwind, I love downwinding. The only thing with downwind is that just how much time it takes because you got to organize the cars and the shuttling.
Terrible.
You know,
Terrible.
yeah, it's all right if someone's organized all those logistics and all you have to do is just go there and go and you get the free lift back. But if you don't have the whole afternoon or the whole morning to go downwind and you've only got 1 hour, it's much better to foil drive or just to prone foil. That's how I split my time. It just depends on how much time I got.
Have you talked to Jonas about, because next time you're in Switzerland and the wind is good, you have to downwind on Lake Neuchâtel. I don't know if you talked with Jonas about it, because we usually take the train back, which is super nice. They leave every
Yes.
half an hour and no logistics required.
Yeah, you guys are so fortunate with that. I was spewing because we didn't get the win while we were in Switzerland, and I really wanted to experience that because I think it looks like a really fun run. But it doesn't happen all the time, does it?
No, you need
Yeah.
to be lucky. Plus, it really depends. For your job, it could work. I'm a teacher, so I cannot leave whenever I want. But I'm in this WhatsApp group. There are over 100 people in it. So if there's wind, there's always 3-4 people going there and like posting pictures and like, yeah, back on the train doing the second run. And so yeah, but you really have to be able to go there. What I want to address still on your UK trip, two things. One, I saw that you put your board bag on the car without like a rack to put things on. Is that how you do that, or was that out of necessity because you didn't find a rack there?
We actually found in Europe it's very hard to get a big car. All the cars are like sedans and stuff, and when you rent a car, it doesn't come with roof racks. So we couldn't fit our boards inside the car, so we just have to strap them to the roof. No, that's not what we normally do. That's just what we had to do out of necessity, and we did the same in Switzerland as well. We tried to order an SUV, but when we got it, the board still didn't fit in the car, so we had to put them on the roof.
Yeah, that's a big disadvantage, huh? And they get so long, and you think, or I think I have a big car, but when I pack my things in there, and I only want to leave the mast on, sometimes it's just not possible, even with just the mast and the board, which is just terrible. But I want to get some personal, maybe coaching tips, because I want to do tighter turns. And today, later today, I'm going to go with Dominic from Foil Drive. I'm going to have a second session while I'm in the Netherlands. And I want to try to do some tighter turns. And maybe you, as a pro surfer, as a really good surfer, you can give me some tips how I should do that. Because I'm not really sure if I should lean in more or turn my torso, or maybe you can help me out with that.
Yeah, because to be honest, after seeing you following those tiny waves in Barcelona, you look like you're dancing on the waves. It's just so stylish, really.
So first of all, you gotta do yourself a favor by getting a short fuse.
Yeah,
Um,
good.
the shorter the
Check.
fuse, the tighter you can turn, right? Also, it really depends on your foil size too. If you've got a really big foil, it's really hard to turn fast. You want to use the right foil for the right conditions. So I don't know are you foiling behind a boat this afternoon, or you
No,
doing a
Foil Drive,
downwind
we're going to
or
go to the North Sea. We're going to do a downwinder. It's supposed to be messy conditions. Last week I was out with a big foil, glidey but big foil. Today I have 1,000 square centimeters, like 1,000 span as well. I have got the short
Mhm.
fuse. I've not got the smallest stabilizer because I thought it might be good, just because the board is not super small either.
Yeah, so that's also like you just want equipment that isn't super high aspect, because you can still turn a high aspect foil, but it won't turn super fast.
It's like
So if you got something
10-ish.
that's okay. You could turn that for
Yeah.
sure, I reckon. If it's 10 aspect ratio, you can still turn that. So yeah, short fuse, try use the smallest stab that you can where you
Okay.
still got stability. And then what the trick is that when you're coming up to the section that you want to turn on fast is to go slow.
Okay.
So you pretty much, by the time you get to where you want to turn, you want to nearly stall the foil out, and then you want to whip it around. Because
Okay.
the faster you go, the harder it is to turn fast. So
Okay.
that's
Makes
how you do
sense.
your trick. If you watch Adam Bennett's and all the crazy turns he does, he pretty much stalls his foil out where he's turning. So he'll be like getting up to the top of the wave, and he won't be going that fast, and then he'll quickly whip it around. Because if he's going up to the top of the wave as fast as he can, he will just do like a slow carve down it. Versus if you come up vertical and then you nearly stall the foil out, he can do a 180 real quick. So that's the trick. And you want to point your shoulders where you're going. So say if you want to turn to the right, you want to really twist your shoulders around to the right. And what I do is I like to extend my arms out to
Okay.
give myself a bit of balance. So people sometimes make fun of my style because I'm using that to really stabilize what my torso is doing. But I like to direct my arms where I'm going, and where you look is usually where you end. So if you look really far around to where you want to turn, eventually your board will turn around to that section.
Yeah, I think your arm movement is what makes you so stylish.
Thank you. I hope so.
All right. What
But
about the like back leg, front leg thing? Does it depend on the foil, obviously, or when you turn over your back foot, or is that not something you can say?
I like to, so the way I tune my foils is like I like to have consistent front foot pressure. And I think Code Foils is known for that for sure, is that it always kind of gives you a constant front foot pressure. So I like to, throughout turns, always feel that pressure coming back at your front foot. You obviously want to tune it where you're not getting so much pressure on your front foot where the foil wants to eject out into the sky. But you want to feel that. You don't want to, through a turn, have to worry about back foot pressure and then front foot pressure. You don't want to be doing that through a turn. Through a turn, you just want to be pushing hard on your front foot and
Okay.
making sure the nose doesn't come down.
Good. That's why these code foils, the one we used for dock starting in Switzerland, they were pretty easy to start because they're similar to what I usually use. Which, okay, that might help. Good. All right. So only foil coming back. Look. All right. Good. Thank you. Cool. I'm gonna try that later.
No
today.
worries. Yeah, but it's so funny because so many people are blown away when I say that. I was like, if you really want to turn hard, you need to go. What I like to do when I'm on a wave, I like to go as vertical up the wave as I can. And you think about it, like if a fighter pilot is going up vertical, like remember in
Top
what's
Gun.
that? Top Gun. You know how he goes up vertical
Yeah.
and then he falls back down. That's exactly what you're doing with the foil. You're going up vertical and then you're just turning around real quick and coming back down. So that's how you turn as fast as you can. You pretty much stall the foil out.
All right. Gonna try that today.
So just think of Tom Cruise.
Yeah.
He's even older than I am, which is good. So we talked about Switzerland already. It was probably nice to come home after such a long trip. And as you've said, that in Britain it was super cold. In Switzerland it wasn't that cold. It could have been colder. But then again, you said you still like foiling, but it must have felt like work, like going to Switzerland, knowing there are no waves to surf. All right, I have to go there now. But then coming home must be a relief. Do you have some days off after
No,
such a trip?
not at all. That was not the case. I was actually really excited to go to Switzerland, and I was actually really excited each morning we were in Switzerland to go dock starting because like I never get to do it. And like I'm one of those people, and I think that's why I really like foiling because it's so hard. I like to, when I get something in my mind, I want to accomplish it. And that's why, like, in my head, I was like, okay, I know what to do with the dock starting, but like, I just wanted to keep trying it. Because I was like, I want to be able to, every time I throw the board, land on it and foil away. I want to like perfect it. And no, that didn't, like, I thoroughly enjoyed Switzerland. I loved it. Like, and unlike what you said, we got really good weather. So it was beautiful.
And you went up the Niesen as well, got some sightseeing, which looked
Yes.
nice.
Yeah. We honestly had the best time in Switzerland, and it's I appreciate each spot for its beauty, and like I think we're not fortunate enough where we have beautiful mountains and lakes like you. So when I was there, I was in awe of it.
All right, very cool. But then you got some days off when you came home.
Um, I can't remember. I feel like I just got straight back into it. Honestly, I think the jet lag got me, but I think like, we just get back into it. I was just had to get on top of all these emails that I had stacked
Oof.
up because like on the road, sometimes you don't have the best internet or sometimes you don't want to, after a big day, jump on the emails and start responding to people. So it was a lot of catch up, but I'm back on top of things now, which is really nice. And I had a meeting with my boss at Foil Drive today, and I feel like I've got back to where I was, and I can start being doing the fun things in my job, which is being creative and planning for new events and editing the photos from the older events. And I still haven't got up to Switzerland yet, but I know I've got a heap of really good content from there that I'd love to share with you guys.
Yeah, Tim did some crazy stuff. Really, he didn't win the last freestyle session we had, but it was close. It was super close. I want to get into that if you don't mind. Like, how did you learn how to edit, how to do this videos you do? Was that just like personal interest and you did it for yourself before, or did you go to school for that?
So I've never done like video or photo professionally. This has all just been a hobby and passion of mine. Got into it through surfing originally, and like, I just always as a kid always had a digital camera or a disposable camera, and like I just always enjoyed capturing moments. And it was very much it was very much photos. And then now that like pretty much media these days, video is the new content. And I've just learned probably in the last 5 years more so how to do video. And still each day I'm learning. I'm a YouTube learner. I've never been to film school or photography school. I've learned a lot of my peers, like yourselves. I'll learn stuff off you guys, and it's just, yeah, ever evolving. And yeah.
It's a lot. It's a lot of gear to bring as well. What did you bring on your trip? You had a pretty big drone. You had a good camera. What else do you bring? And what's if you can only bring one thing, what do you bring?
Yeah, it's interesting. It depends like what you really want to achieve. So on that trip, because I knew I was going there for work, I brought, my full frame camera, which I like to take photos on. I also like to film on. And then the drone, I think, such a good tool to have. It's just captures different angles that you can't get elsewhere. I think the DJI Osmo, the the GoPro equivalent, that it's just such a good water camera to have, especially for us how we're always in the water. And then the actually no, not the Osmo, the Action, that's what I was meant to say. And then the I've also got the DJI Pocket Osmo, the gimbal. That one I don't even think I used the whole trip. That one is a really good one because it's got the mic that you can sync to it. I think that one's really good for vlogging. But this trip, I don't think I really vlogged that much. I think I more just captured what was going on. I wasn't really interviewing people
In
or stuff like
Barcelona, it
that.
was a little more vlogging.
Yeah, sorry,
It felt
Barcelona was
like.
more vloggy. I think because that was probably the first spot I was at and I had more energy. But then as the trip developed, you'll see in the UK edit, it's not really me vlogging, it's more me just capturing the moments. And then I think the same with, oh no, France is a bit of a vlog because we did a downwind and I was kind of like talking to people along the way on the downwind. But then Switzerland, I think, was more just capturing what was going on. So just, yeah, just more wanted to capture and showcase the trip.
Do you have good ideas for audio? Because when you're downwinding, and as soon as the camera hits the water, the audio quality is not that good anymore. God has some amazing idea with his Apple Watch. Maybe you have a good idea how to capture audio.
What's your idea?
Um,
Or you
I
don't want
had
to
an
tell your secrets?
no, I had an Instamic, but it doesn't really work that well in salt water. Even if you clean the connector, it gets a bit corroded over time. But then I realized that we got like the voice recording, like voice memo thing on the Apple Watch, and then I got an arm strap, which is you're supposed to use it for like running and when you're doing sports to not have the Apple Watch necessarily on your wrist. And then I bought these little covers for the Apple Watch, and then I glued to the cover like a little wind muff where the microphone is, and I pretty much can get clean audio from the Apple Watch. So that's pretty cool.
That's
Yeah,
amazing. What
yeah,
what wind are you in? Because like I feel like that's good. Maybe if it's not 20 knots, or what have you tested it in?
yeah. So it's good to cut the wind off when you're pumping in flat water. So really just the wind going against you. Yeah, if it gets really windy, then you probably have to figure out another solution. But again, the bigger the wind muff, the worse it gets when it gets wet. So
Mm,
But
just
I
it's
don't
think
kind of
when you're
fall.
downwinding, you don't have that much wind noise because you're going with the wind.
yeah, that's
Yeah,
true.
that's kind of when I'm vlogging on a downwind. First of all, I'll try to keep the camera close to my mouth because I think, obviously if the camera's over here, you're not really gonna get good audio. And then you also have to be strategic. So if you're going directly downwind, you want to hold the camera in front of you, versus like if you're holding the camera behind you and the wind's kind of coming with it, it's not gonna hear you. They're just like all little things that you got to think of as a filmmaker, because if you do want good audio, which really does capture your audience, it's important. Oh, you can do other things where like you can film yourself, but then like and then in another take you can just film your audio, and then you can overlap that onto what you've
Ah,
filmed.
but still having the live audio kind of.
Yeah, so it's like, maybe you're talking about the run and you just like got your GoPro here, maybe you hold your hand here so it covers from the wind, and you just be like, I'm doing this, blah, blah, blah. And then maybe you can shoot another shot where it's like you holding the camera behind you and it can show you what you're doing. So,
Yeah.
um,
Oh, that's a
then
great
yeah,
idea.
or you go on a downwind where there's not much wind and it's not an issue. I've done that. Like you just go out and like it might only be 10 knots, but because you're going faster than 10 knots, it doesn't sound like there's any wind.
How much cameras and gear have you drowned over the last couple of months, years?
Touch wood, I've not broken anything.
Do
The
you,
only
do
thing
you,
I have broken is you know those bone conductor headphones?
yeah,
I've lost two of them just because I've fallen off and the headphones have come off my head and I haven't got a string on them. That's the only electronics I've lost, and yeah, that's it really.
because I was
I've been
out
very lucky.
with Dominic a couple of days ago, and he lost his GoPro. He said he never attaches a leash, and then when he fell, he somehow hit the board with his hand, and it went out with his hand, and
Oh
that's why
no.
he lost it. And the problem is not really losing the camera. Of course, it costs money, but it was like maybe 2 hours of great video on that we didn't have anymore. But maybe
Oh
he's
no.
using a
Yeah.
leash today. We'll see.
Yeah.
But Josh, we talked about foils, downwinds, and prone, but we didn't touch on boards because I know that you're riding Cypher, and when I saw your board, it looked very, very, very cool. Also the design, and I noticed one thing about the pad, which compared to any other board, downwind board I've seen, is very, very thin, and I totally agree with that. I like my pump board doesn't have a pad at all. So I wanna touch on that if you wanna talk about boards, about Cypher.
Yeah, so I for this trip, I got that board specifically made. I made it 7.6 because I found with the travel that I'm doing, that size, the airlines don't mind. When you start getting into the 8-foot region, the airlines sometimes they'll look at the board and they'll be like, it's too long. So I just made a board that was a travel size. It's not race dimensions that all the people are riding these days. People are usually riding 8 foot or longer, but realistically, if you're I think I caught 10 flights in that 2 weeks. It's not ideal carrying around such a big board. That board is an Amos. It's the Dave West model called the Cypher, like you said. It's a little bit wider than the race boards these days because it's optimized for stability, and I just think it's a really nice board because I like a board that's quite thin that still holds the liters that I need. I need about 105 liters. And for me, when I've got a board that's relatively thin and nice volume, it just surfs really nicely and it's got a really nice feel when you pump because you feel closer to the foil. It just feels more direct. You can stay high on your mast more because you kind of, it's like riding a really thin pump board. Like it's nicer when you're more direct with your mast.
100%.
Yeah.
All right. And also your prone board. What does it have as a special feature?
Yeah, so the prone board, that's the model that I've created with Amos. It's called the Cruiser. It's inspired from Jerry Lopez, actually. It's like a teardrop design. If you look at an old single fin surfboard, I pulled the inspiration from that because I really wanted a board that was really good at paddling. And I've just noticed with all the prone boards out there, they're very much like your pump boards. They're very small, um, they're very narrow, and it's like to be honest, they're horrible to paddle. So I don't know why everyone was trying to surf on these tiny little boards, because I was like, I understand if you're pumping around in a lake and you don't need to paddle, like you just jump off a dock. That's why you have such a small board. But why do you need that in the surf? So we kind of stretched out from what everyone was doing. We made the boards a bit longer, more like a surfboard. And I just found that they're beautiful to ride because they're easy to paddle, easy to catch waves. And then when you're on foil, it has a very nice, forgiving feel to it, because I feel like the shorter the board you go, the more reactive you are to the foil going up and down and side to side. So it just smooths out your foiling a lot more. And then we also now turn that into a foil drive board because it works so good for foil driving that we made the trench in it. And then now it's like the ultimate foil drive board, which is great.
Yeah. And touching on foil drive, you said in Barcelona, I remember that you mainly use it to go upwind and downwind because, like you said earlier on the episode, the logistic conditions there in Sydney are kind of crap, also because of traffic. What other use do you do with the foil drive?
Yeah, so that's I'm not one of those guys like that just foil drives every day. Like I use my equipment for whatever the conditions call for, and definitely I still love SUP the most with downwind. So if I can do a SUP session downwind, I'll do it. But if I can't get a lift or find a partner to go with, I'll just upwind on the foil drive. I can roughly get 5 kilometers now going upwind with the high powered motor and the high power battery in like 15 knots. So I can go 5 kilometers upwind and then 5 kilometers back. That's 10 kilometers in about 40 minutes. Like it's pretty good, like time for your money. So I do that a lot. And then also what I love to do is I like to get the foil drive out when it's big. I don't really like to use the foil drive when it's small because I'd much rather prone foil when it's that size. I like the activity of pumping around and using my own energy. It keeps me fit. But when it's big and it's not good for prone foiling and you can't paddle into the waves with your arms, I love the foil drive. And we actually had a really good session last weekend. The waves were like probably 6 to 8 foot, and it was kind of the waves were kind of breaking a little bit all over the place. So the surfers weren't at this particular beach. They were all at the next beach because it was kind of breaking in the one spot. And I went out this beach where there was no one at. I had it all to myself for an hour. I was just getting like, 6 to 8 foot waves. And I actually linked up with a drone pilot. And he hasn't sent me the footage yet, but I think we got some magic clips. So I really enjoy it. I enjoy the foil drive to get away from crowds. So that's where I find its purpose and what I love about it.
You also talked to Dan about the Parawing. Have you used that lately?
Yeah, I've actually had exactly what Dan probably forecasted. I had a shocker on the Parawing. I nearly bloody killed myself on the Parawing because I took it out in conditions that first day was too windy, nearly ripped my arms out, and I let go of the Parawing and it went flying down the beach and went into the trees. So the first day was a fail. And then the second time I went out, it was just not windy enough, and I jumped off the point with the Parawing, and I was trying to get going, and I'm there standing on my SUP trying to do the Parawing, and it eventually pushed me downwind into this reef. And stupid me, I didn't have a leash on my board, so a big wave came and it took me out, and instead of me holding onto the Parawing, I bear hugged my board because it didn't have a leash on. I was like, I'm not losing my board. I knew the Parawing would just fly down the beach somewhere. And then as I bear hugged the board, the Parawing got wrapped around my board and my foil and me. And then I'm like in the impact zone, just holding to my board, trying not to get pushed up on the rocks. Parawing's all ripped around me, and I'm trying to, in between all the waves, pull all the strings off the foil, and it's half on me, and I'm half under the parachute, and it was a mess. And then eventually I got pushed into shore onto the rocks, and I got the Parawing and the board, and had my tail between my legs and walked in, and the Parawing has been in knots, and I brought it over to, Gav, the guy on YouTube.
An amazing guy.
I brought it over to him, and he's going to untangle all my knots. And he actually gave me another Parawing to try now. So I yeah, I haven't given up. I just haven't had success.
Plus, it feels
So
like you
yeah,
don't need it. If you have foil drive, if you have your paddle and you know how to use it, then why the Parawing?
it's just another thing. I just want to learn it. I don't think it's pointless. I just want to. I see other people doing it, and I just want to try. I just want to see. Like Gavin says, he has the best time on it, and it looks like he is. And I just want to be able to, when I want to go out, be able to do
Yeah,
it. Like I like the beginner phase because I feel like you learn really
yeah,
quick,
yeah.
and then yeah, versus like I'm still haven't had any success, and I know it's just there, it's just out of reach. So I need to have a few more goes and hopefully
Have
get it.
you gone out on the skateboard with the Parawing?
No, I don't know where my skateboard is. I think it might be at my parents' house, but I do need to try. I do need to try. Yeah.
Because it's also
It's just
super
whenever
fun.
it's windy, whenever it's windy, I want to actually go in the water and do it.
Uh,
But like, I know I should go into a car park with a skateboard and do it. Probably teach me more, but like, I'm stubborn. I'm like, I can do it. I can go out there. I can do it.
Because for us it makes super sense in Switzerland at least because full drive is not allowed, and the work with the paddle, man, really I struggle so much, and I can go out with the paddle once every other month, so I don't really improve. But with the Parawing, it does the same thing. It gets me on foil on the same size board more or less, at least on my level. And so
Hmm.
it's really it's one or the other. Now today I'm gonna use the foil drive, just because I don't know how the conditions are, and the wind range as well with foil drive is bigger than with the Parawing, obviously. but
Yeah.
it does the same thing really.
Yeah. It's something like I love the foil drive because it honestly can get you out there when you probably can't with other things. Um, but there's something about being able to harness the energy, say it's wind or say it's swell, and you're not relying on technology such as
Yeah.
batteries and stuff. There's something about that that really um, talks to me. So that I think I've never been a sailor, and wind sports to me is all new. So me learning how to fly a kite or even a wing, like I wing as well, like all that stuff is so new to me. But when it clicks and it works, it's um it's something really cool because you're flying around using like Mother
Yeah,
Nature.
that's true. God, can you relate to that?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, we never saw you wing foiling. At least I've never seen you wing foiling, and I'm getting into that. But then my goal is still to paddle up and downwind. So I see your journey, and you feel almost like you don't need to wing to be able to wing foil to be able to get like a downwind foiler. So what's your like wing foil journey?
I very much wanted to. So I learned how to surf foil, and I could catch maybe like 10 waves in a row. And then that's when I was like, I need to learn how to downwind now because I can pump for a minute or something or longer. And I was like, okay, now I need to learn how to downwind. And at the same time, a lot of friends were getting into winging and they're like, you should try to wing. But I was like, no, I want to just learn how to sup. I just tunnel vision. I don't want to learn too many things at once because I've seen so many wingers, they get good at winging quick. And then they're like, I don't want to sup because every time it's windy, they just want to wing. They don't want to go back to learning. So I was like, no, I just want to sup. Once I'm good at sup, then I'll learn to wing because then I can, I can do the. I personally think winging is easier than supping. Um,
Definitely,
yeah,
definitely.
yeah, yeah.
Oh
But
shit.
like, it's yeah. I just wanted to learn in that way because yeah, I've got winger friends that they're not dedicated to the sup because whenever it's windy, they're just like, I'm just gonna wing because I can have fun doing it because they don't want
Yeah.
to suffer flopping around on their sup boards when they're like their mates are around them just winging around them like it sucks.
It is a pain, man. It is such a pain. Like doing a
Mm.
20-minute downwinder, and for the others, and for me, it's a 2-hour downwinder, not being on foil, where everyone else is taking their para wing and flying around and winging, and yeah, that's. I have to get back into it. We had a podcast with Olivia Piana. It's gonna come out on Monday. So if you're listening to this podcast, it's already out. And she said that my equipment is good enough. I should go for it. And yeah, I probably have to. Well, Kyle, if I look at my list, we're already over an hour. Do you have anything you want to ask Josh?
No, that's fine. That's enough.
Josh, yeah, anything you want to tell our listeners, viewers, maybe something we didn't touch on or something you want to end the podcast with?
Who is your main market of listeners? Are they obviously European, or is there a certain part of Europe, or is it?
It's all over the world. It's mostly men.
Of course, I know that. I know that. All for like, and they're in their 40s to 60s.
Yeah,
Yeah.
really? Why is that?
It's because those guys have too much time on their hands. That's what it is.
Probably.
Their
Time,
wives are
money,
doing all
yeah.
the work.
That's
Yes.
Yeah.
Oops.
But what I would like to say is that, like, whatever discipline that you're doing, just keep at it. Like, I feel like there's so many people that, you know, they'll flip from one discipline to the other because they might not making too much progress with it. But I've seen personally, like, especially with the SUP, because I do a bit of SUP coaching and like flat water paddling and stuff, is that just keep at it. And like what you've probably guys seen with your pump foiling is it's more repetition. If you go out every day for 15 minutes trying to do what you're going to do, it's better than doing it once a month for 2 hours. You're better off doing a little bit each day. And that's whether
Yeah.
you're, you know, living in a landlocked country or in an ocean. You just have to find a little body of water where you can practice whatever you're trying to do and just keep your reps up. And I think we live in such a cool community with people like yourselves where there's always people asking each other questions about gear or advice, and you know, utilize these people and just ask. It never hurts. It never hurts to ask for advice. So, and I'm here to help whoever, because I love this sport. I love the people in it, and I just want to keep going with it.
All right, thank you very much. That's a perfect note to end the podcast. Next week, we're going to talk to Ben and Marcus from Codefoils, so subscribe if you're not. And thanks very much, Josh, for coming on the show. Thanks for all the listeners. Older episodes on uponfoil.com, and see you guys in the next one.
Bye.
See you later.